Some reports have suggested that the rebels have foreign people, considering the weapons they are actually using. The UPDF has still held up in war and made demands by the international community that they withdraw. President Museveni says no one will tell him when or how. They will talk about that. We'll also talk about the findings of the national government based by the report. Surveying governance and independence rated Ugandan MPs as the worst leaders in terms of compared to sub-county and district leaders. The survey was carried out by UGOS. This report comes at a time when the Speaker of Parliament keeps complaining about the absence of MPs in the chamber when they're supposed to debate. We'll talk about that. Also, the road to 2016, the role of Ugandans in the diaspora. They met in London with their beloved president and they said they want him for the next elections, which are due in 2 years' time. We'll also talk about the education system and the state of that education system. A report just released says that Uganda runs a report of children don't recognize numbers, they don't know how to read. We'll discuss that as well on desks. Mr. Henry Maida, NRM Mobilized, you're most welcome, Mr. Maida.
Many thanks and good evening.
Also, Imam Ikasozi, lecturer at the IUIU, that's the Islamic University in Uganda, also knows the Islamic. You're most welcome, Imam.
Thank you, good evening, viewers and listeners.
And Dr. David Mushada, senior partner at the Mushada Movement Company. You're most welcome, Dr. Mushada.
Thank you, Edmund. Good evening, viewers and listeners.
We expect to be joined by Dr. Akabai Nolasha, Executive Director at Akaba. He is on his way to speak. Mr. Maida, what can we expect from the South Sudan talks?
Well, I think the talks which are due to take place in Addis Ababa, in my view, really produce results. People should come to terms and agree that a negotiated settlement is what is desirous for the people of Sudan and also for the people of this region. As you know, Sudan, definitely South Sudan has applied to be part and parcel of the East African community, and you cannot import, we cannot as East Africans, whether now or in the future, import confusion. So we would want to see that South Sudan actually becomes a peaceful country, a country that is governed on the democratic dictates of as expected by the international community. So it's an extremely important country in as far as this region is concerned. And therefore I expect that actually these wonderful two gentlemen, since they have agreed to meet face to face and talk to each other, they're going to definitely come out with some kind of a headway in terms of a negotiated settlement so that the region can become stable, because we cannot, as a country, Uganda, afford a situation where we have a volatile country in the name of South Sudan. That's why I think as a country we got interested so much in whatever was going on there. Remember that the government of South Sudan definitely invited Uganda to help in pacifying that place, with which, of course, the President of the Republic of Uganda responded very positively, and the rest is history, of course. There are lots of benefits. Ugandans who were doing business in that country were rescued and returned home. There were also foreigners that were caught up in fighting between the two protagonists. We returned to their respective countries. We managed to reinstate constitutionalism in that country, because you remember there was a coup attempt. If it had been actually successful, then constitutionalism, and we were actually behaving in line, because our approach was actually in line, and the stance that this country took was in line with the charter of the AU that taking over government using arms is not acceptable. Therefore, so there were so many benefits. But I think more importantly, South Sudan is a country that is very important to us as a country, as Uganda, and also to the region. And therefore, I expect that these two gentlemen are going to make some headway in terms of negotiating the settlement.
Why did it take so long for us to get here?
Well, you know, what a volatile situation like the one Southern Sudan brings, and once people pick up guns and begin firing in the direction of each other, you expect that bringing them to a negotiating table will take a bit of time. And I think, in my view, we shouldn't, rather than us looking at taking a very long time to bring these two wonderful individuals. You remember initially, Riek Machar actually distanced himself from what was happening in Southern Sudan, until actually eventually he had to admit that yes, he was part of the problem that was in Southern Sudan, and eventually He even revealed his address, and he revealed that he was actually the rightful leader of the rebellion that has been going on in South Sudan. So it was very difficult at that time, of course, for anybody, whether it is the West, whether it is us in this region, to bring these two wonderful gentlemen to a negotiating table and then move forward.
Dr. Mchai, what's your view on this matter? What kind of progress do we expect?
Well, of course, when we talk about peace, we also have to address the underlying sentiments, feelings, dislikes and likes. So I believe that these two gentlemen probably fundamentally differ on so many things. And according to African history, the peace talks, or the peace that has been brokered by African rulers, not leaders, has often failed. So I'm hopeful that probably since this time UN is involved, they might come out more transparent, and nobody will hide certain cards in his pocket, or probably Ban Ki-moon might pull this one off. But also there is the flip side of the coin, that is also UN, does it have clean hands, or it might have a favorite child between the two? And if that is the case, then wouldn't this be a ploy to have the favorite child have an upper hand, reorganize himself as the so-called peace talks or peace talks are taking place? So there are several scenarios, but by and large, this is a good thing. Sometimes we misunderstand each other just because we don't sit down and talk. So I think this is a good thing if the two gentlemen can come out and spill out everything and what caused them to fall out. This, in the long run, if it brings peace to the Africans in South Sudan, because for me, I'm seriously a Pan-African. Africans have suffered for centuries and centuries. Even when the colonialists left, we adopted the colonialists' methods. We are killing each other. Yes.
We adopted the
Sub-Saharan Africa, yes, divide and conquer. Same thing. I think we are not bad students, except the other part that were bad students. When the colonialists used to root Africa, they would take and develop their systems, and very little went to the individuals, except that now in Africa, a lot goes to the pockets, into the pockets of the rulers, and so they are plundering Africa, putting into their pockets, and holding big accounts in Europe. So, but this is a good thing if we can stop the suffering of fellow Africans in South Sudan. For me, I wouldn't care whether it is Machar, whether it is Kill, as long as there is peace, then I'm okay with that. Let's be optimistic.
Dr. Mchabi, you say that African brokered peace processes in the past have not borne fruit. Give us some case studies.
You want me to bring it home?
Well,
the 1985-86 peace talks in Nairobi.
Yes. Brokered by General Arab.
Yeah. Yes. That is one example.
With a new government, of course.
Yes. Well, there is no guerrilla warfare in Africa that I know that has ever settled for peace talks.
You sure?
I don't know any. But you are all educated men. You can.
We'll have to look at it.
The only good example that we saw in Africa was the effort by Bishop Desmond Tutu, Truth and Reconciliation. That one actually went a long way to heal the historical wounds between the different races in South Africa. But these fighters haven't seen anyone. No, I don't trust them.
Imam because, but you also say that UN favors a certain side. You seem to think they favor a real side.
No, I said that if they have a favorite child, then this could be a ploy. To have the other person's guards down while the favorite child is organizing.
It was a hypothetical.
Imam, talk to us about this matter. You seem to understand it better. Talk to us about this peace. What can we expect? What kind of outcome can we look for?
Of course, every individual, every human being should really love to live in peace. But sometimes because of greed, we end up conflicting. And when we conflict, sometimes we kill each other the way it is happening in Sudan. It has not started in Sudan, it has happened in Uganda before. Even in Uganda, it seems it may happen again. You see, it has happened in Rwanda, it has happened in Burundi, it is in Congo, it is in Angola, Mozambique, you can name Nigeria, okay? The African states, that is the problem. Previously, people misconstrued the whole thing. They thought, because Sudan, South Sudan problem was Arab, African, Muslim, Christian enemies. Okay, but now they have been proved wrong. You see, because now all the people, the contenders, the people who are struggling, they share so many things in common.
African Christians.
The African Christians, they are all black, they are all whatever, but unfortunately, and actually, even Christians, almost one major denomination, because the majority of them belong to the Catholic Church. So that is the controversy. The reason is because the African still looks at himself much more allied to his tribe, to his ethnicity, than the nation. And the reason is because no critical nation builders have existed in Africa. Those who attempted, okay, ended up miserably. Kwame Nkrumah, somebody in Algeria, Algeria was a man in Algeria. Nasser, Jamal Abdel Nasser, in what? Then William Tolbert in Liberia, and then others. So they end up like that. The only example that we have seen, probably Mandela. Nyerere tried it, but again Nyerere to the Muslim community, both in Tanzania and the world, they have a lot of question marks about him because of his other style. That one is a religion, that is different. So, peace. Can somebody bring peace to you if you are not peaceful? So possible. The best people to bring peace, they could be these people. If they had agreed in their kitchen before they exploded, then it would be okay. But now, so many players, we have the story. They requested for Uganda, and Uganda happily went in. Yes. And when they went in, now they are telling us if nobody can tell us also to get out. Okay. One time they were asked, where are they? Who asked you? Where are the letters? All these questions were not properly answered up to date. Right. But because we are like that, sometimes we remain naive, we say, I think it is okay. So I want to take an example. 2 days ago, we buried one of the eminent sheikhs in this country, the former Caliph for Massacre, Sheikh Hussein Chiruta. And on the occasion, protagonists in the Muslim community were all present. Kayongo, Mugaje, Taketo, Kamoga, all this, everybody leads a group. So Mugaje made a historical statement.
What did he say?
He said, little did I know that this man could unite us. If I had known, I had asked him to call us into unity. If there is anybody who can offer, and I have offered myself to do that job, you see?
Yes. Then
he added one other important thing. He said, so every time when we have a problem, some people think we should run to the government, something I don't believe to, or to others, because nobody from outside will ever unite you. Then he said that, you see, the president, for example, where is he going to quote? He can't quote Quran, he can't quote Hadith. He will quote from the Bible. Will you agree? They said no. So, even here, whether it is UN, Uganda, UN, Museveni, Ban Ki-moon, will not unite with Sudanese unless they themselves know that we are the people, the owners of this country, and we agree to share it equitably. Otherwise, we are not about to see is a peace. Then the global conflict or the the global interests within Sudan. We must not rule it out. China, America, and sometimes some of the smaller players like Uganda play for either of those. Sudan, the main Sudan, Khartoum, yes, Sudan also has a role, okay, also playing for another player. Ethiopia has never given up, because all those are interested parties. Some that are interested could be Kenya because of business. They are interested because Kenya knows that peaceful East Africa, Kenya will automatically dominate because we have a long way to reach where it is. So I am saying, if we want to see peace in Sudan, these men, nobody should call them to come to the table. But if they should first of all agree and believe that we can have peace.
Yeah, of course, Kenya has a dominant in that place. They do banks, as we sell them,
it's okay, of course.
Reports just filtering indicate that both men, the one with the heart and the one without the heart, have agreed to form an interim government.
Yeah,
what kind of interim government can we have?
Interim government, of course, that means a broad-based, it involves everybody. And I want to agree with my brother Imam Kasuti, because it's just like in the counseling. If you're drunkard, for instance, and you must, somebody has to come and counsel you out of that problem.
Yeah.
You know, people have been taken to rehabilitation centers, you remember.
Yes.
You yourself must agree first, in the first instance, that you actually have a problem.
You are wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong, and so somebody else outside yourself, or even outside your family, must come and help. So I want to agree with him when he says that these two gentlemen must agree that they have a problem, which problem must be, first of all, appreciated by themselves, and then eventually somebody from outside will come and try to convince them. And I'm happy that they are agreeing. But of course, then he was touching on something very, very important: regional politics and international politics, and as far as the problem in Sudan is concerned. Because you know very well that actually Sudan, South Sudan for that matter, produces, when they were still together with the bigger Sudan as you knew it, South Sudan actually was contributing, when they separated, Southern Sudan remained with 75% of the oil. And that is an interest. You know, the Chinese have been investing a lot of money in that country. The Americans have not given up their interest in that country because the oil in Southern Sudan definitely is an attraction to everybody, including us, you know, as a country, as Uganda. So it is a country which is of a lot of strategic importance. The Chinese, of course, the Americans would feel, and the West, for that matter, would feel a little uncomfortable that the Chinese are actually making lots of investment in that country, and that makes them very, very insecure. And so they would want to forestall the Chinese interest in Southern Sudan as much as possible. So that is an extremely important point for us too. But he also touched on something that Africans have not managed in their conflicts before. Yeah. Yes, we definitely, probably by about 70% have not managed, but at least we, after the intervention of, I think it was Mandela in South Africa, the Burundian problem was at least, the guns went silent, you remember, because of that effort. Of course, somebody may probably want to convince us that the international community, in that matter, we're talking about the West in quotes, we're pushing, probably pulling the strings from the sides, but at least we have to appreciate that somehow. I think Mandela, given his magnanimity and the respect that he conducted on the African continent, Burundi became, the guns went silent, and that was an extremely important step for us. Because in the future, I think we should strive as a continent to try as much as possible to ensure that African solutions, African problems are actually African solutions.
Yes, I want to. African could have those solutions. It's because we have failed to create states. People who come to power, they insist to stay there forever, and even their good eventually is eroded. And therefore, when you present yourself that I want to meet you, then people look at you and say, oh, you cannot.
What do you mean? I thought statesmen, they come and begin to, it's hard getting good leaders in Africa. If you get a good administrator,
it's not hard. You see, we had one of the best cultures. The unfortunate thing is that many Africans don't understand their culture. They believe that because we speak this Mzungu language, this English language, you see, we forget to know that we had values to protect, and these values, we had the way we control the conflict. Okay, we had social control. We knew the social structure of the African society gave it an opportunity to easily iron out problems. But these days, instead of using that system, we run to Rwanda tried it, I think. Rwanda said it. Rwanda has tried it. They actually wanted it. And they wanted it tried. But we dismissed them because we thought, they were joking, they were only protecting. So, on many occasions, we are more pessimistic than being optimistic, using the African standards to reach where we want, because we think civilization was imported here, whereas it was exported from here.
Oh, civilization was exported from here?
Yes. Nairo Valley. Nairo Valley is not in any other country.
Egypt was spread the world. Dr. Gremja, talk to us about the kind of agreement that we have. What kind of coalition government will we have?
Well, of course, first of all, the stability or instability in South Sudan would jeopardize our interests as a nation, in Uganda and as a people, because we know there are volumes of people go there and trade and they come shop from here, because it is a country which is still in its formative stage. So this economy our economy has benefited more from supplying them with the necessary yes. So, but going to your question, what kind of coalition government or temporary government or interim government is likely to be formed? I think they are likely to propose names of the people who should represent them in that in the new government. Probably, I think they would have as to whether or not it should be 50-50, or since the other one is already, the boss is His Excellency there, and this one, that could probably break down the talks. But I think they might want to create some sort of broad-based, because the fight has been, and the debate has been about whether or not the Dinka are discriminating the Nur. So now, if you say let us have a broad-based government, it is not, South Sudan does not consist only of the Dinkas and the Nur. So even the other tribes are going to say, hey, we want to be represented. So they have to come up with a formula that is all embracing, that is palatable.
Let's take a break. This is Spectrum Radio Logica.
Experience the thrill and unforgettable memory of gorilla trekking. Uganda Wildlife Authority is happy to offer you up to 40% discounts on gorilla trekking permits, offer valid till 31st May. Enjoy the rare wildlife experience of trekking the world's few remaining mountain gorillas in windy impenetrable forests and Gahinga National Parks. You can also enjoy many other activities like nature walks, hiking, birding, golden monkey tracking, culture and community experiences with the Bantua and a lot more. Don't miss this opportunity. Uganda Wildlife Authority, serving generations. Legitimate whiskey is different. I am proud that we can now enjoy quality and taste. And start I have not felt so original in the last after I have tried legitimate whiskey. Everything seems to be going my way. Look, this is a quality discovery. Legitimate whiskey is blended from carefully selected Scotch malt, giving it a golden amber appearance with a silky smooth and smooth taste for lasting satisfaction. Legitimate whiskey, a masterfully crafted blend, expertly blended, lighter and styled whiskey. Please enjoy responsibly. This is a warning. Gather around this radio and listen well. Of this news, you turns. I have seen hundreds of women my children. You take away their health and happiness. You make them too sick to play or learn. Get injections. I am a nemesis. But I'm here to tell you that when I come into this family, you will be over. I will cover their skin with a double protection that will destroy you and break your eyes and remove your energy. I will make you pay. You have heard it straight from Cabernet Meditex for no-nonsense protection against germs. Buy Meditex for your family. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Tonight we review with some of the key hot topics. South Sudan conflict. They began talking that it seems preliminary reports from Addis Ababa indicate they've agreed to have an interim government. We're not sure which format this one will take. We talked about a survey that says MPs don't perform very well. LC1, 2, 3 are much better than the road to 2016. President Museveni goes to London and they say you are the man who wants to stand in that next plan election 2016. We'll talk about that. How do you say about education? Is it good? Is it not? We used to say it was the best in the region. It shows a different picture, especially at the primary level. Our guest, Mr. Henry Maida, NRM mobilizer, Dr. David Mushada, senior partner at the Mushada Movement Company, advocate and Imam Idris, lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda, also about the clarity. Mr. Henry Maida, what format would this interim government take?
Well, just right from the outset, I just want to say that, of course, the two sides are going to begin. I don't know who is putting forward the framework of this so-called interim government or government of national unity. But I won't suspect that probably this is coming from the West, because as we've said before, Southern Sudan is a very strategic place because it produces a lot of oil, and that oil is very cheap, and everybody will want to access it. The Chinese want it, the West want it, and because of oil, that's why some people probably in this country have called it a curse, which I don't want to believe, because oil is supposed to be something to benefit people as God wanted it. So how is this government going to look like? I want to envisage a situation where people are going probably to share positions of responsibility. So you take half, you take half. We take these positions, we provide the finance minister, we will provide the defense minister. I want to believe that here is going to insist that he takes the finance and the defense ministry. The vice president will definitely come from the opposition, and the rest of the positions will be shared out. Because I meant to understand they have some level of federal system of government, because they have states which are under governors, and I think that one is sorted out, because you can continue having your governors in these states. But positions of responsibility, the government, I want to investigate, I want to pick out only two. The Minister of Finance is extremely important to somebody who is in government, and the Minister of Defense is an extremely important. Of course, internal affairs, yes, fine, but you may have over that one. As long as the army, your control, you are in control of it, there isn't much to lose. I mean, the police can be handled by somebody else. And then when Kia, for instance, takes the position of finance and the Minister of Defense, then the defeats can come from other antagonists in the conflict in Sudan. So I just want to imagine that there is going to be sharing of positions of responsibility in the cabinet and the other places.
Doctor, what's your own?
Well, I think from what my brother, my guy here is saying, that is what we should expect from Kilo to control key ministries. However, you are looking at another man who says, look, I was the first to join this struggle.
Yes.
You came after, so I'm more senior. Then
Salva Kiir was there before.
But Machar says that is one of his arguments, he advancing.
Salva Kiir was one of the first five.
Now he says
William Nyamba, Salva Kiir, but it was the dead general.
yes. Now Machar was saying, look, I'm also educated, I'm more educated than you. I think I understand how the government should be run. You are a fighter, but you are not qualified enough to run a government at the government of 2014. So I think they are going to fight over those positions. But for me, I feel that if a formula is offered by UN, mind you, we are still colonies of America and Britain.
You can't say that. We're an independent. We will have our own place.
No, we have cages. You see, we are two types of slaves in Africa. We have those who are privileged and we have those who are not privileged.
What do you? The ones who can take one, the ones who cannot?
Yes, the ones who are in power, who think they have power, but when the West comes, they catch pneumonia here. So now those guys are fighting to protect their turfs, the cages they are in, but they know that that if the neo-colonialist comes and lifts the cage, they are in trouble. So, and the ones outside the cage, they are fighting to enter the cage and share the privileges and the cake in the cage. So, if the masters decided that they want a new guy to come and enter the cage,
What's not happening?
then you might see Masha being on top of this. Because they, you know, in politics, give and take, they might say, look, if you refuse, this guy has amassed serious support, he's going to reject you by force. So we think you should settle for something, then you stay in your country, you have privileges, da da da. I think if a formula comes from the West, most likely than not, the black man is going to accept it.
Imam, what's wrong?
You know, nation building is not a very easy thing. And therefore, this business of sharing positions, I detest it. Because it does not help at all. The moment you have a position, you have no position. Therefore, it becomes a problem in itself. That's why, if these people really, they were struggling to have an independent South Sudan, with people enjoying themselves, because for a very long time they believed they were underprivileged. To me, if I was to offer the formula, I would kick both of them out. Both of them out.
And bring a Uganda?
No.
To bring somebody,
Some not neutral. Some impartiality, not neutrality. Because I don't believe in neutralism. Because nobody is neutral. So, greed, if greed is not there, and if they are nation builders, and if they are sincere to what they struggle with, then they will have proved me wrong. But I told you on this radio station that dividing Sudan was not a solution to Sudan.
But they can come and do it.
Later they may join again.
I just wanted to make a very, very small comment, because I think David has really provoked my mind very much, because he's talking about somebody trying to put the framework of the plan and the sharing of the power from the West. Let's look at the chronology of events over the last 2 weeks. And I want to agree with you, because you remember Kerry, the Secretary of State of the US, was there first. And he more or less gave orders. You remember?
Yeah.
Ban Ki-moon is just following in town. But I leave it at that one.
Let's move on. Let's talk about this national government. The way it's like for a summit, was carried out by data. They say MPs waste a lot of time. They go there, their output is very, very weak compared to LC3 chairman and so on. This survey also indicated that bribery was really high in the current elections, with over 60% of the correspondents, people as persons, confirmed that they had received at one stage a small bribe or a big one. What do you say?
In my religion, we say,
is it an accurate report or is it wrong?
in my religion, we say that actually people get the leaders they deserve. So we have, of course, members of parliament, the honorable members of parliament, but of course, this no, I don't want to refer to this honorable, of course. But I think I have not looked at the details of the subject, but I want to believe that the people have carried out some scientific research. And as far as this matter is concerned, to have come to a conclusion that actually our MPs are not performing very, very well, like they should have. And probably, to me, this is a wake-up call for people to pull up their socks and make sure that they actually perform. Because on several occasions, you and I know, listeners, that on many occasions the Speaker has been in Parliament, the Deputy Speaker. Well, when you're in Parliament, of course, I understand the Speaker, whether you're Deputy Speaker, Substantive Speaker, you're Speaker. So, and there is no quorum, and that one is a very big problem, because, as you know, Parliament is supposed to actually enact for us laws and make this country a country that follows laws, a country that is in a respect that respects laws and all this kind of thing. So when it comes to a situation where, and on several occasions actually, the members of parliament are not available, I think that one is a very big problem, and it's a wake-up call, and it should be something that is very important for us to address. And I just want to imagine that, because we have, you and I know that we have a multi-party system in this country, which was adopted after the referendum 005. And once we went multi-party, it means that each one of these parties that are represented in Parliament must have a chief whip. And the biggest responsibility of a chief whip is to make sure that his people or her people are actually whipped as much as possible, so that they attend parliamentary sittings, so that they enact laws for us, so that they really debate as much as possible and come out with laws for the country. So we also need, I think, to strengthen the area of whipping so that Parliament can perform better. I don't know which, because I've not accessed this subject. Of course, the first one is whipping.
How?
The responsibility of the whip is very simple. Make sure that people attend meetings, and make sure, and even the caucuses are actually part of the parts of the multi-party system.
What are the sanctions? Suppose they don't show up.
The sanctions are there in Parliament. There are standing regulations that if somebody misses, I don't know how many sittings, they're supposed to be, I think, excommunicated from Parliament for a period of time. I don't know whether it is being enforced, but I think we have a problem, and this is the time for us to consider this as a wake-up call and ensure that, and I want to believe that there is room for improvement for our members of Parliament and ensure that they do the job for which they were elected to do in Parliament.
You know, should we do our Parliament?
You see, if you operate a no system, that's what you expect. Because
what do you mean by it? You are reinventing the English.
For us, we only elect the people. We don't have any checks on them. We cannot reprimand them, and therefore, where we send them, they decide what to do. So, but the biggest problem, again, it is the population. And therefore, when we are campaigning, they were told what type of MPs to bring, and they brought them. And therefore,
told them what kind of MPs?
We don't mind as long as somebody wakes up and raises his hands in our favor if we have anything we are pushing.
National guidance.
These very people who do not attend these meetings, they have passed laws. They have some of them are controversial laws.
Yes.
They have, when there is a matter that of the why is it that it is easy for people to go and attend a meeting in Nigeria or in Raktura or in some other home than going to Parliament, which is here where they are staying? Therefore, it means corruption. That is what corruption erodes values, it distorts order, and therefore, me, I am not as a patriot as my brother Henry, who said they are honorable. I have said it before. They have no hope, and if you have no hope, you are in trouble. These MPs thought, many people, even those who are aspiring, they have made politics a joke, and therefore they think they have gone to do business. When they find that the business is not moving, that's why they disappear. So we must put a system that makes politics not appear to be a job. It's not a profession. It is a service to humanity. And then you go and serve and get out. And unless we do that, we are not going to succeed. So to me,
what should we do? Should we slash their salaries? 1.5 million shillings at the end.
Can you?
Well, I have always opposed the S6 equivalent as the criteria to enter Parliament.
You prefer senior or master?
At least a bachelor's degree. Now, secondly, I also I'm very critical of party merit instead of individual merit. When you read the answer and you see how men and women debated during the CA, you become impressed. When you read the answer of the 6th Parliament, you become impressed, you become proud of your country.
The Norbert Mao Parliament.
Now, those were individuals who knew that people had sent them there on merit. But when multipartyism came, like my brother Henry was saying here, now everybody becomes a slave of the party. Now you take groupthink, you're subject to groupthink,
Yes.
and group collective responsibility, and it robs you of your individual mind. You cannot think for yourself. So when you look at what is happening since the 6th Parliament, we have had a rubber stamp Parliament. So it is only you boss which didn't know that these members of Parliament really are not doing anything. They are rubber stamp people. But the general public has known. That's why during election time, when they go to look to ask for votes, the voters say, pay us first. Oh. Because they don't expect much from them. So whoever has more money during campaign wins. That is harvesting time for the voters.
Right.
So when you see them on Friday lining up in banks, if you go there, asking for overdrafts, they're asking for advances with their salaries.
Do they come from
No,
particular party?
they are not the MPs.
It's mostly the NRM MPs who are in debt.
Now you realize that one of the biggest qualities of a leader is discipline, financial discipline, responsibility. Now, if they don't have that discipline, how do you expect them to deliver to the masses?
Some people have said it's mostly the NRM MPs who are in debt. Maybe it's because they have a big father. They don't.
I think if we, I want just to make a reflection because of the, you said it is August, it is a research. I don't know at what level have they subjected analysis to, but I don't know, sometimes they make a bivariate analysis. But no, the problem, they were comparing it with the lower levels, and that's what I want to bring at one point. The problem is because the roles, the lower levels, local government, for them, they are doing what they are supposed to do. The MPs, and they want to do what is not their job.
Let's move forward. Mr. Henry Maiga, in the diaspora, all those men and women sat in one room and they agreed with one voice. President Museveni should be continued to be leader of the NRM when they go to the 2016.
Of course, as you actually posed that question to me, my colleagues are already laughing. But I just want to believe that their laughter is actually the minority because the president is being endorsed, and the endorsements are actually, they are actually part and parcel of democracy, not only in this country but even elsewhere. You remember in the last elections when Obama was being endorsed by singers and all these kinds of people endorsing him. So endorsement for me, as far as I'm concerned, is part and parcel of democracy. Everyone is free to endorse whoever they want. Now, of course, when the president goes to the UK, it's being endorsed. That shows you his popularity. Yeah.
He restricted his movement.
It is also a vote of confidence in his in his leadership in the country, because he has those hard assets of leadership, of reconciliation, of promoting unity in the country, of promoting stability in the country. That's extremely important. That's why those endorsements are actually coming the way they are doing.
So the president restricted his movements a bit. He didn't even go to check down.
Online I read that they were going to arrest him in London.
They cannot do that.
I know I know the citizens wanted to arrest him, not the government of London. The citizens arrested. The scissors of this world will always go. They will be there. Of course, they will always be there. Even if they are 10, we say they have endorsed. But there are so many others. We can also say that many others who rejected this. I'm very certain that if you follow how the elections in Yuna, how the elections have been taking place in the diaspora, that is the trend and that is the purpose. They wanted the such leaders who would convene a caucus again, and then they say a caucus has said. But I'm very certain if you went to London and you paraded the Ugandans and you said Mr. Museveni to come 2016, I don't think you can even have 25%.
Oh, you think so?
Very certain. Very certain.
Dr. talk to us about that, the diaspora voice.
Well, this endorsement of the sitting president in Uganda is a new phenomenon. And when you see an incumbent taking that campaign of endorsement, you have to suspect there's something wrong, that probably is not as strong as he was. Because when he was very strong, he didn't need even to have that PR stand. So I suspect that it was pre-arranged in London to come and speak with one voice, and the dissenting voices must have been denied access to the venue.
Kasata was denied.
So this was my suspicion is that this was choreographed. It was prepared. But the people in London and in diaspora, they are right to say that they want to protect their investment. But there are more fundamental rights than just financial interests. So if the investments are okay, but other aspects of good governance are ignored, should we now sacrifice
which investments have they made? Where are they?
We don't see them. We see
where are they? Where are they?
And also the other problem is that we have to outgrow this mindset to think that out of 34 million that God has put in this country. Only one is the only one who can keep the peace. You see, there are others who destabilize the country. Now, if all of us are saying we want peace, so any other person can come and lead.
All right. Let's move. Well, Mr. Jeremiah, what is the best time for the president to leave? He's a man of wisdom. How long should he stay?
Before even reading that question, because you remember, and I've always given this to our good leaders, listeners, that in a space of only 1 year, between 79 and 81, we had 5 heads of state. And Ugandans remember the level of instability that we had.
So you should have one.
We've had one president who has stabilized the country. One president, not 5.
How long should we have him?
How long we should have is for as long as he continues to do good things for the country. For as long as, well, that's why you're in the studio. That's part of the stability. That's why you're in the studio talking freely, and nobody's going to molest you after you have accused the president Museveni of all sorts of things. Like in the past, it used to be people would accuse the president and then they would get molested, arrested. Some of them would even disappear, including in the early 80s, 2 members of parliament who were picked from parliament, and they were never seen again.
Let's move forward. We don't talk about the government that was in power at that time. Mr. Henry Maida, the state of Uganda's education system, they carried out a numeracy and literacy report test, and that shows that Uganda is at the bottom. In Kenya, they perform better, 68% in both numeracy and literacy. Numeracy means in counting, literacy means reading. Tanzania, 50%, Uganda, 38%. And this is supposed to be happening during the Great Lakes region.
I don't, because of course we're not competing with anybody as far as education is concerned. But of course these are indicators as to the direction that we should take as a country to improve our education system. I want to agree that there are lots of things that can be done to ensure that the education system that we have actually answers the needs of this country. That's extremely important. And of course numeracy and literacy are extremely important aspects somebody should look at. And I don't know, because of course in terms of numeracy and literacy, yes, Uganda could be performing below the performance of other countries in the region, but probably there are other areas where Uganda actually is performing very well. So we're only looking at 2 aspects. So if it has been found, that actually as far as these 2 aspects are concerned, we are underperforming, I think we need a review, because in every 10 years any system should be subjected to review.
Dr. Amushara.
Well, I think this points a finger to what our national priorities. If education is not a priority, then there is a problem. And teachers, by and large, are looked down by the illiterate rich people. Teachers are poorly remunerated, and most of them teach as just a last resort. And even when they teach as a last resort, most of them are looking elsewhere for supplementary income because their salaries are meager, they can't support them. And then they see the society glorifying the illiterate rich people. And then that devalues the education. So somebody will ask you, what does speaking English help you? You are poor. And so you have gone to the illiterate person to borrow money.
Buy sugar and milk.
So they teach us the last resort, not out of passion or for the job. And that is actually evident in the level at which we are publishing in this country. Most professors, they are not publishing because even our reading culture is very poor. So if I read...
Some might not agree with that.
Okay.
I don't think our reading culture is very rich, but what we write is really not one thing.
The reading culture is poor. You have less than 130
in their classrooms.
No.
Let's talk about this report, Imam.
Please, yes, the report. That's what
Numeracy and literacy.
No,
why are we flying so bad?
because we have made our education so cheap. Yes, that's why.
We should add zeros to that.
Patronage made education so cheap, and then the way we organize our systems is the result of this.
How do we have it?
So, we need to go back and see what do we need. If, for example, because we have living examples of what you want to review. First AID project came here. They put up structures in 1968.
USAID.
Not USAID. It was first. It was.
They also built some structures.
Those institutions they built, the structures they put up in 1960, where I went in Tungai School, where are better than the structures we are putting up. So when you make your education cheap, that is
So we should add zeros to the petition.
But after creating the way of making those zeros,
Priorities are seen in national budgets.
What are we getting our priorities from?
Yes, we have our priorities.
Where our priorities?
security,
Well, thank you very much.
anarchist fight.
Mr. Henry Mayer, Dr. Senior Partner at the Bishop Imami was lecturer. Thank you for tuning in. And so Dr. will be back on my very
One of the African